Hello, good day, and welcome. This is Keck with Builderall, your information products, digital marketing, training, and support specialist. Welcome to another episode of Motivation Monday. That's right, it's Motivate Monday. And I'd like to talk to you about today. It's called collaboration. I'm going to talk to you about what is the most important collaboration you can ever make, and that is the collaboration between you and your mind. When you can collaborate with your mind and what you want effectively, will get what you. Now you may be thinking, brain, that's really complicated and to understand. Well, in this, that's actually not true. What I believe is that it comes down to only 4 things you know about your mind. If you put these 4 things in practice, you'll have success across the board at every level. So let me tell you what these 4 things are about your mind. Your mind does exactly, specifically, what it thinks it to do. It does what is in your very interest. If you haven't done, but you've got behaviors, well, you're not being properly with your mind. Let's change that. Right. Secondly, mind is hardwired to move towards pleasure and away from pain. Thirdly, the way you feel about anything all the time comes down to only 2 things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. Fourthly, your mind loves what is familiar. It is programmed to keep going over and over again with what is familiar. If you want to succeed at any level, you've got to make what is familiar unfamiliar, and you've got to make what is unfamiliar familiar. So let's start with the number 1 thing you need to know about your brain. Your mind does what it really thinks you want it to do. May be hard to really accept that, but it's true. It's always acting with what it thinks is your very best interest. How does it determine what your best interest is? Well, it listens. Your mind is always listening, always, to your language. Your mind works out what you're doing and feeling by the words you are using. If you say words like, "These exams are killing me, I'm dying under the paperwork, my boss is a nightmare, I'm overwhelmed, I can't cope with the stress," for example, if you say stuff like that, this is what happens. When I say, "I'm dying under the pressure, this workload is killing me," you're telling your mind you don't want to do that. That's what your mind is hearing. And if your mind thinks you don't want to do something, guess what? It will try to make it so it doesn't happen. It will encourage you to procrastinate, slack off, and not apply yourself. Your mind is so very, very specific to the words you use that if you say, "I'd love a week off in bed, I'm overwhelmed with this stress. I just wish I could have a week off at home lounging around on the couch," well, your mind goes, "Okay, there you go, I'll give you the flu. But didn't you ask for that? You said you wanted a week off in bed, and here I've given you the flu, and you've got a week off in bed." If you say, "I'm dreading having to give that presentation next Wednesday, I'd do anything to get out of it," your mind's like, "Okay, why don't I wake you up with a migraine or an upset stomach?" There's your get out of the presentation card. It may sound a little silly, but this is how your mind works. It does what it thinks you want. If you haven't got what you want, it's because you're using the wrong words. You're using words like, "It's too hard," "It's too difficult," "It takes all my time up," etc. Imagine if you have a big project you need to finish and you've been procrastinating. The reason you procrastinate is because your mind thinks you don't want to do it. When we experience this, when we realize it, we must talk to our brain deliberately. Talk to your mind deliberately. Try the following words. "I want to do this. I've chosen to do this. I've chosen to feel great about this." And those words, "I want to do this," "I have chosen to do this," and "I have chosen to feel great about it," will change your life. This is way more than positive thinking. It's collaborating with your mind. So look at your behavior. And if you haven't got what you want, it's because you're not communicating properly with your mind. Take, for example, the picture of some military soldiers in training, right? We see them running in the pitch black of night. It's cold, it's raining sideways, it's muddy. And the soldiers, what are they doing besides running? Well, they're singing, right? You've seen this. Why are they singing? Because when you're singing, your mind is like, "Oh, okay, it's pouring rain, it's dark, it's freezing cold, you're running up a hill with a big backpack on, and you're singing." So the mind says, "Oh, I get it, you must like this." Okay, you see how that works? Now conversely, imagine if you were to run a marathon and you started by saying to yourself, "Okay, 24 miles to go. I hate this. It's so boring." It's so difficult. My feet already hurt. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to finish that marathon. You have to say, I love it. I love it. I choose it. I want it. I'll take the pain. I want the outcome. Even when it doesn't feel true. So that is how you collaborate with your mind. You must tell it, using very specific, very detailed, and very precise words, what you want. When you're doing it, you say, I want this. I like this. I've chosen this. And you must link pleasure. Because here's step number 2. Your mind will always move you towards pleasure and away from pain. Always. Think about it. You eat something that makes you sick and you link it to pain. You can never eat that thing again for the rest of your life because you're hardwired to avoid pain. Consider this. If you link pain to studying or speaking in public or anything else, then those things are going to be very, very difficult for you to accomplish. Here's what you need to know. You are the one who gets to choose every day what pain and pleasure is. You are the only one that can do that for you. Think of this classic example. If you've ever had to read out loud in class and you got a word wrong and everyone started laughing at you, you think, okay, that's it. I'll never speak in public again. I'm never going to be the focus of attention again. Now, of course, you forget about that incident. Years go by, say 10 years go by, and you're about to give a speech or a presentation or chair a meeting or something, and you'll have a panic attack because your mind's like, oh no, speaking in public, pain, don't you remember? You have got to change that proactively, and you are the only one who can change it. You've got to tell your mind exactly what you want, and you've got to link pleasure, not pain, to doing the things that are hard. Now, the third thing about the brain is it responds to only 2 things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. That's all there is. So let me say that again. Your mind responds to only 2 things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. So imagine you're on a flight going to LA and someone's sitting right next to you on the same flight. The pictures in your head are going to LA means great beaches, fun people, fantastic weather, places to go. Now you're having one experience with your pictures, but the words and pictures in the head of the guy next to you is saying, this plane sounds funny. That guy looks suspicious. I think he might be a terrorist and blow up the plane. You see, the 2 of you are having totally different experiences because of 2 things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself. When you collaborate with your brain, you must change these pictures and you must change those words. You have to change your thinking and change your words, because the pictures you make in your head and the words you say to yourself will change everything. That's all you have to do. So let's do an experiment. So I want you to imagine, in your hand you're holding half of a big, fat, juicy lemon. Close your eyes now and I want you to imagine more. Bring the lemon up to your mouth. You can squeeze it, feel that wonderful lemon feeling and smell. Inhale that fresh lemon scent. So now open your mouth and take a massive bite. That's right, bite this lemon in half and chew it all around. Keep chewing it. Now what you'll notice immediately is that you are pumping out masses of saliva in response to a thought. You can open your eyes now, and of course, there's no lemon, but you see 2 things. The pictures you made in your head was that of a lemon. The words you were eating, a lemon. But that's the point. The body doesn't care what you tell it. If it's right or wrong or good or bad, helpful or unhelpful. Your response is only to those words and those images. So the 4th thing now you must know about your mind is that it loves what is familiar, and it will gravitate towards what is familiar always. Now realize, if what is familiar to you is procrastination, slacking off, not applying yourself, feeling uncomfortable in public, and not believing in yourself, well, you're going to have to change that. You have got to make that completely unfamiliar. So when that happens to you, you're just like, well, that's not me. Okay? And conversely, you've got to make what is unfamiliar familiar. Things like hard work, believing in yourself, putting in the hours, and deciding to love it. We've been taught not to brag, so thus we don't like to say things like, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm really good at what I do, I'm an expert at this. And of course, that's because we think we're either faking it or being arrogant. But I just showed you that when you believe you are eating a lemon, your body actually starts to make that happen. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, "Modesty is not a word that applies to me in any way at all, and I hope that it never does." And I love that. Muhammad Ali said it's people's fear that stops them from taking on challenges. I told myself I was the greatest before I even was. I believed in myself, and guess what? I became the greatest. What a concept. He told himself he was the best, and he became the best. He didn't just say, "Yeah, I'm the greatest, look at me." He trained, he worked out, he was disciplined. He believed he was the best. If you want to be at the top of your game, you have to tell yourself you're the best. Because what's the opposite of that? "Oh, I'm just average. I'm not really good enough. I can't really do this. It's too hard. It requires too much commitment for me." I just showed you whatever you tell your mind, it believes. So start telling it better things. First, you make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make you. Let me say that again. First, you make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make you. And if you believe in yourself, other people will believe in you too. And when you stretch your mind to a new dimension, it never ever goes back, because your potential expands as you move forward towards it. You can't ever know your true potential. Consider Roger Bannister, the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes. He did these 4 things. He told himself, "I want to make this happen." He linked massive pleasure to doing that. He saw constantly his body going through the tape at 239 seconds, and he made it very, very familiar. And since he did run that mile in under 4 minutes, that same year, 8 more people did too. The following year, 57 people did exactly the same thing. So he made what was unfamiliar, the idea that a man could run a 4-minute mile, he made that idea familiar. Mark Spitz, another great example, won 7 gold Olympic medals for swimming. He was a hero at the time. It was amazing that he did that. Now his speeds aren't even that special, because your potential expands as you move toward it. So if you want to have the most fantastic collaboration with yourself, you've got to remember these 4 things. Tell your mind what you want. Link massive pleasure to going there and pain to not going there, so you can motivate your mind. Use very detailed, specific words. Change the pictures, change the words, and make the familiar unfamiliar and make the unfamiliar familiar. You have everything to gain by doing these 4 things. Tell your mind exactly what you want. Use really detailed, descriptive, positive, powerful words. Remember, it's not positive thinking. It's rewriting your brain for success. And that will bring success across the board. Not just in business, not just in athletics, but in everything you do, even your relationships. Link massive, huge, enormous pleasure to getting there and pain to staying the same. Change the pictures, change the words. When you have a brilliant brain, and you do, you have 2 choices. Rationalize why you feel so bad, or talk yourself out of it. "I can't cope with these exams. I'm not getting enough sleep." Change that to, "It's temporary. I can do this. I want to do this. I'll sleep later." And make the familiar unfamiliar. Most important, make self-belief so normal to you that everyone else believes in you too. All right, friends, that's all I've got for you today. Remember, you are more powerful than you know, and you are awesome. Until tomorrow, let's build it with Builderall. Ciao for now, friends.